Welcome. My name is Adrien Finley, Executive Director of the Alexandria Symphony, and it is my great pleasure today to be in conversation with Vaughn Ambrose, saxophonist extraordinaire, as we say, and band director at Hammond Middle School here in Alexandria. He will be featured with the Symphony next Saturday, April 2nd, in a program of Charlie Parker with strings. Welcome, Vaughn.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So my first question, because I know most of our audience probably isn't necessarily familiar with you unless they've been to some of our educational programming, but may not be familiar with this repertoire either. What is this Charlie Parker with Strings program?
Well, Charlie Parker with Strings, I mean, it's like the greatest can of worms ever. It was when Bird sat with a new manager, he asked to do a recording with strings. And his manager at the time really didn't want to put a lot of money into it. That's why there were really only 3 or 4 string people or players per part. But it was a huge success because it brought jazz, or the new music at that time known as bebop, to the everyday person. Because Bird, of course, well known amongst the musicians, because the club scene was incredible, the rewriting jazz, the language of jazz, and the history of jazz, but it opened up a whole new world. It is the greatest, in my opinion, and I share this with a lot of individuals, one of the greatest recordings of all time. Because Bird felt that he was finally being presented the right way. So he really practiced. He lived more of a normal life because his life was kind of crazy, but he lived basically a normal life, so it's some of his greatest work. He felt like he was really being presented to the audience.
And these works, just to give our audience a bit more of a preview, these works really take some of his colleagues or some of his predecessors, and he brought them into that format, that unusual instrumentation, which is saxophone soloist, strings, some winds, rhythm section. I mean, it's really quite interesting.
Yeah, it's
totally unique.
Yes, and you know, it was kind of met with mixed feelings. The hardcore jazz musicians kind of felt that maybe he was selling himself short or selling out, and those folks who weren't familiar with jazz thought it was the greatest thing in the world. It was like the first crossover, you know, because you had folks going into the idiom of trying to bring new listeners into the music.
So what are some of these titles that we're going to hear?
They're all wonderful standards. We're going to do April in Paris.
I know there's Summertime.
Summertime. I'm in the Mood for Love. They Can't Take That Away From Me. What else do we have? Hopefully Everything Happens to Me. Just Friends. They're all standards.
Now, one point of curiosity, really, I know that there were a few selections that didn't make it onto the original album that we are actually going to present next weekend.
Yes, there's a Jerome Kern's song, which is one. It's They Didn't Believe in Me, was written from some musical. Bird really didn't like the arrangement, so it never made the cut. I like the arrangement, so we're going to do that. And there's also one that there's no notes on whatsoever, and it was a tune written by John Lewis, who was playing piano on the sessions, and the title of the tune is Scootin'. And there's like no record, there's nothing to go back and listen to. So we'll be premiering that as well.
Great. Well, I know you may want to give us a bit of a preview.
Sure.
So what are you thinking today?
Well, I mean, we're all kind of in the mood sometimes.
Thank you, Vaughn. Now, how about a few words about you?
Oh, okay. Well,
I know you're director of bands here. You're a pro sax player, I know, and you've been around the world.
Yep.
I think my life is busy. How do you balance it all?
It is a little challenging. I'm just a little country boy. I'm from Jacksonville, North Carolina. Actually, Midway Park, North Carolina. I don't even live in the big city of Jacksonville. I studied music at East Carolina University. I got my undergraduate in music education and my master's in jazz studies. Very blessed. I had wonderful instructors. I had a wonderful high school instructor, Perry Ditch, wonderful college instructor and mentor, Carol Lachille. And there, they nurtured whatever was there. I've played and toured the world with
through the State
Department with Alvin Atkinson and Sound Merchants. We spent 6 or 7 weeks in the Middle East, playing in Iraq, Afghanistan, Jordan, Dubai, Armenia, Lebanon, and we were there to play for the people. So it wasn't like a USO tour where we're playing on posts. We were out in the community playing concerts for the Iraqis.
And just an incredible experience.
It was a life-changing experience. We're truly spoiled, and we take these things for granted. And the music we take for granted. I remember the last concert we did in Lebanon, it was standing room only. And of course, these countries are going through trials and tribulations, and we've gone through some of the same things here in our country. And we played John Coltrane's Alabama. And we really didn't have to explain the tune because so many listeners, there were so many listeners in the audience, they knew that it was written for the 4 young girls who were killed in the horrible bombing in Alabama. So when we announced the title, people started screaming, and when we finished, it was the standing room only. So I'm fortunate to do that. I've worked with Gladys Knight and Aretha Franklin. Recorded a DVD with the great, of course my mind went blank, Lou Rawls, Little Anthony and Pierce. So I've been very fortunate.
Well, we couldn't be more pleased and excited to welcome you next weekend. So April 2nd, 8 p.m., Spectrum Theatre at Artisphere, which is Arlington's new cultural center, and tickets are available www.alexsym.org. Thanks, Vaughn.